The shortened definition of the word poetry is literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas by the use of distinctive style and rhythm.
Some people might ask, why do people write poetry and why does poetry matter to the human race? Well, my favorite quote from my all-time favorite movie, Dead Poets Society, is, quote, "We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. In medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain human life, but beauty, poetry, romance, and love, these are what we stay alive for." Today in this video, I will be talking about New York Times writer Eliza Gabbert, who wrote a rhetorical analysis on the old poem titled Musée des Beaux-Arts, written by W.H. Auden. She titled her analysis, quote, "A poem and a painting about the suffering that hides in plain sight," unquote. In the article, Gabbert digs deeper into the rich history behind the poem and artworks that inspired it. She also makes key discoveries of hidden meanings in Auden's words and how he is sneaky with portraying his topic of suffering throughout his poem, as you can see through this snippet directly from the article. Eliza proves her methods of using ethos in this article, as she clearly states first and foremost that she has been reading and analyzing this piece of poetry for over 20 years. In her writing, Eliza provides a brief history on W.H. Auden's past, and through this we are able to discover that he was 31 years old when he wrote his poem, and even though he was still young, he was considered one of the significant poets of his generation. Along with living in the UK, Auden became part of a group created by British and Irish poets that shared leftist views, and they called themselves the Auden Group.
The group's poetry addressed the issues that plagued society during that time, such as the Great Depression and the rise of fascism. But what inspired this piece? Well, it's not uncommon for people to turn to poetry when faced with the tragedies that come with simply existing in our established society. It can be hard seeing all the suffering going on amongst the world, and we often don't know what to do about it.
Auden just so happened to come face to face with all of these tragedies as he traveled through Iceland, Spain, and China. He took these experiences with him as he wrote his poetry. In December of 1938, Auden encountered his light bulb moment at the Royal Museums of Fine Arts in Brussels, Belgium.
A painting that really stood out to Auden was the painting called Landscape with the Fall of Icarus, created by Peter Bruegel. Notice how the title is Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. That gives us an idea that Icarus is not the main event of this painting.
When you first see this painting, the first thing you notice is the beautiful landscape. What you don't initially see is off in the bottom right corner where you can see Icarus drowning. Gabbert explains further using logos when relating this painting to hidden suffering. There is a hidden meaning behind the words written by W.H. Auden. As previously mentioned, Gabbert refers to this poem as, quote, "a suffering in plain sight." But what does it mean to suffer in plain sight? I would describe that as viewing someone suffering, either brushing past it because it doesn't directly involve you, or maybe you are the one suffering and you don't want anyone to see it. Both of these are very relatable experiences that Auden understood and carried throughout his poem.
Gabbert is able to convey the method of pathos in her text by using direct evidence from the poem piece. W.H. Auden's poem is filled with wonderful imagery and creative wording. However, it can be difficult for some to initially understand exactly what Auden means by his metaphors and discrete wording. Gabbert is able to help with that as she goes through each stanza, giving explanation and context to the reader. In this video, we have covered how American writer Eliza Gabbert used ethos, pathos, and logos in her writing, has beautifully analyzed the work of W.H. Auden's poem Musée des Beaux-Arts, and show how even poetry from the 1930s is still relevant because poetry will always live on.
I hope you all feel inspired. Now go out there and write some poetry.